Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Plurk, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Monday, the 2nd of December, 2013, and this is episode 55, Hi-BRRRR-nation. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. My Thanksgiving was pretty good. It was better than I anticipated. I had my friend Becca over after she got off of work, and as I was going to pick her up, my sister called and said, "Hey, video chat with me," and I was like, when I get home I will. So before we sat down for dinner, I set up a hangout and invited my sister, and she took me around family Thanksgiving in Michigan, and it was amazing. It was the best possible way that day could have played out, because I really miss my family, and she was having Thanksgiving with the extended family, my mom's side. I haven't seen any of them, I think, since I moved down here. I don't think any of them have met Mara in person. That's crazy. Maybe they have, but I don't think so. So that was amazing. The only thing that would have been better, obviously, would have been being there. I hope that if you celebrated Thanksgiving, yours was great. And if you're not in the States and you're like, what? Everybody celebrates different, and I like to celebrate with my family. So the sweater knit along is going on. It started November 1st and runs through December 31st. So if you finished a sweater in that time period, throw it in the finished objects thread. You only get to enter once, but you can make as many sweaters as you want. Just enter them all in one post. You can go back and edit up until the 31st. And so far there is only one entry, unless someone snuck in since I last looked, which, that happens sometimes. Please tag projects with BPH sweater. And I hope more people make sweaters, because I really enjoy seeing finished objects. I have some finished objects this week. None of them are sweaters. But let's show you. I don't have as many as last week. Last week was a little insane. This week I have half as many. It's a little more normal. I actually started recording this podcast about half an hour ago, and then Mara came in and threw a big fit, so I hadn't even gotten to the finished object section. So I stopped recording, and I finished this while I was waiting for her to stop throwing a fit. This is the dragon mask for my nephew. It is similar to the mask that I made for my son for Halloween, except the eye color is different, and I gave this dragon extra horns. And Gabriel's, my son, he needs to be tied on. But for this one, I just left more of the milk carton. This is milk carton paper mache, spray paint, and fabric paints. So I just left the bottom of the milk carton intact and curved these. So it makes a hat. So it's kind of big on, or it's kind of small on me, but my nephew is not as big as I am. So it should fit on his head just fine. It fits on Gabriel's head fine. So hopefully he'll like it. It'll be under the tree for Christmas time. Yay! All I had to do, this has been sitting almost done for weeks. You may have seen it right up here. For weeks. It's been sitting done, and all it needed was the teeth. And that took 30 seconds to cut out and a minute and a half to tape in. Ridiculous. Like I said I was going to, I made myself the Christmas wreath by Crafty Alien. Mine is made out of acrylic. It's Red Heart Super Saver in, I think this is Patty Green. I don't know, I lost the label a long time ago, and Red Heart Super Saver Red. So that's going to go on my tree right now. Both of our trees are up. We brought them in on Saturday from the garage. And Gabriel insists on keeping them lit from the time he wakes up until the time he goes to sleep, which is fine. But they don't have any ornaments yet because I didn't bring in the ornaments. See, we moved and I didn't unpack everything. I have a general idea of which box they're in, but I'm not positive and I haven't brought them in. And like I said, we only have, I don't know, 10 ornaments or so. So this one is going to go on the tree, or maybe I should put it on the doorknob outside. That would be kind of cute, a little door hanger. We have a wreath, but we don't have a wreath holder yet. So this could be cute outside and then we can bring it back in. I don't know. It's really, really fast. I finished this while I was editing and still had editing to go. Ridiculously fast. And super cute. I used fabric paint for the eyes and mouth rather than the, I don't remember what it calls for, I think just embroidering on, but I'm lazy and I really, really like fabric paint when I can use it instead of embroidering or using safety eyes or whatever, because I have it on hand and it's super fast. And then you just have to wait for things to dry, but that doesn't matter to me because things usually just sit on my desk for a while after I finish them because podcast, I want to show you. I finished the wrist warmers for my mom last week. They were into this red stripe right here, and that's it. So last week it was, oh, no, not even that, because I had to add that border. So it was that, but on 2 needles, because I had both going at the same time. I did these 2 at a time, even though there's a right and left. It was really easy to keep track because there's not a big difference between right and left. This is Spatterdash by Dagmar Mora. It's a free pattern on Knitty. And I used Vesper Sock in the Hellfire colorway. And US size 1 2.25 millimeter needles. Oh, stuck on my ring. Okay. I'm pretty happy for this part because this is worked flat back and forth and then you pick up here to start the feather thing, feather and band, basically. I cast on 10 stitches less than the small size because there's a small and a large, and went with that. I also only did 9 buttons on each glove because you're supposed to do 14, but I really felt that adding more buttons would be too much. Maybe not. Maybe you think that it could use more buttons, but I stopped at 9. Also, these were all in my button stash. I had enough buttons to go for 14, but I just felt like it was going to look cluttered if I went 14. I laid it out first. But yeah, these are for my mom for Christmas, and she better like them. I made this out of yarn that I got from a friend that came to me in a huge tangle. So I had a lot of small balls just hanging around. And this used 40 grams. And what I have left in small pieces is 40 grams. So that gives me an idea of something that like the size of a project I could make with the 40 gram leftovers. I don't know what I'm going to make, but I really, really like the way this stripes up. Even if I have random odd striping, I still love these colors. I think these are gorgeous. And then because I felt like I didn't have enough finished for the week because I finished the ornament and then I finished the wrist warmers and it was Thursday. And I was like, I've been finishing so much stuff and now I don't have many finished objects. I cast on a pair of socks on Friday, I think. I don't know. It took me 2 days. I cast on in the morning, worked on some other things, I think I did the heel that night, and then the next day I did the entire foot on both socks. So it's just a slip-stitched pattern on it. I didn't use anything in particular. I knit 3, slip 1, and then the next round knit because I wanted it to be interesting. These are made using Yarn Bee Walkaway in the colorway Tango. And I worked them on US size 2 2.75 millimeter needles because that produces an excellent fabric with this yarn for like sporty exercise socks. And then yesterday, my sister gave those green cable warmers. I finished those about a month ago. I don't remember. Maybe longer than that. Who knows? I finished them. Amanda picked them up when she was visiting, and she gave them to the friend that she commissioned them for. And her friend was like, I love them so much. Can you make wrist warmers? And I said, yeah, I can make wrist warmers. So yesterday I made some wrist warmers. They are Coffee Red Heart Super Saver acrylic because she wants them for her husband's boss, and I don't know if he has allergies. Hopefully he's not allergic to acrylic. He's, I assume, not a knitter. I can't even tell you much about the pattern. I cast on, I don't know. I could count, but I'm not going to. I cast on and did a knit one through the back loop, purl one, rib all the way around for however many rounds it took me to make this the length of my thumb. And then I did one more round and bound off. And I worked this on US size 6 4.0 millimeter needles. So that's what I finished this week. I worked on the Zipper Lexicon Socks by Kirsten Hall. I have the foot done on both. And I used all these stitch markers so I could show you what hexagons I finished this week. I finished 20, which means next week these should be done. I have, my plan is to do the heels, which are 3 hexagons each, and then a round on top of that, which will be 4 hexagons each, so that's 14 hexagons total, and then the cuff. And this week, Steve won't be home for an entire day like he was last week because he had Thursday off, and he had Saturday off too. I think he left the house for a total of an hour. And I don't want to work on them when he's home because I don't want him to see them because I want them to be a surprise. He picked out the yarn last year, but he doesn't know that I'm making them into socks for him right now. So yeah, I want that to be a surprise. I have been pretty strict with myself about keeping this in a project bag so he can't see it. And I should have plenty of yarn to do what I want to do, but I don't think that I have enough yarn to do 2 more rounds. 2 rounds on the leg. I think I only have 1. I have 46 grams right. I'm going to do the heel and then weigh again and then figure out how much each hexagon takes gram-wise and figure out if I have enough for, if I only have enough for 14 or if I have enough for 2 and the cuff. I'm thinking probably not 22. Yeah, probably not. But we'll see. This yarn is Nooch Fiber. And they're on Etsy. It is the Midtown sock in the Cloud 9 colorway. And I'm working those up on US size 1 2.25 millimeter needles, and for this little part in the middle, there's a seam, and you use bigger needles. I worked on the Lakeside Socks, which is a pattern by Julia Viconson. And it's Premier Serenity Sock in the colorway navy, but it is actually a charcoal gray. And this is where I was last week. So I've done 2.5 pattern repeats. I need to do 15, and then I start, I don't know, calf decreases or something. They're knee socks from the top down. I need to be working on them more, but I don't know. I'm not feeling the pattern right now. I've actually never been feeling the pattern. I had to rip it out because I made it on needles that were, I made them on US size 2, 2.5, and they were too big. So now I'm on US size 1, 2.25. Still not feeling the pattern. I'm going to make it, but I'm just not loving it. Yeah. It's what my best friend wanted though, so I'm going to push through and make them for her. I'm going to take time away from knitting works in progress for a moment to show you some non-knitting. I am making the handprint turkey softie by Bella Dia. And this is what it looks like so far. I wanted to have these done on Thanksgiving. However, my children were not cooperative. So these are going to go on our Christmas tree, and I would like to make these every year with my kids. What you do is you take the hand and you trace it. And the person did it on felt, but I have a lot of this really colorful fabric, so I let the kids pick out the fabric. It's actually hearts. I think you can see on this how it's a heart shape. And this is Mara's hand, 2013. So I have to put on the feathers and do the face. And next year we will do a different color turkey. Gabriel's needs feathers completely and face. So that's how it's going. I hand sewed these with the kids so you can see the stitches. And hand sewing with Mara was interesting. She's 3, so there are some places where her stitches just didn't hold when we turned them inside out. Turned the fingers inside out, so you know, there's whatever. We made these and they're awesome, and that's how small their hands are. Look at that. They're so little. And even my boy child, so little. I would like to do this every year and have a huge flock of turkeys by the time they're ready to go off into the world and leave me behind. Oh. So these will be done next week. These will probably be done today. I started 2 other knitting projects. The first is for the winner of the pair of socks for my podiversary. Julie chose this gorgeous Daisy Knits in the shoot base, which is 60% superwash merino, 30% bamboo, 10% nylon, and the color is Wicked Cool. So it's blue and green and purple, and much prettiness. I finished the cuffs for both socks, and when this grows up, they are going to be the Strider socks by Claire Ellen from the Fellowship of the Socks ebook. Now the sun's coming out and you can't see my face, but you can see the yarn really well, so that's what's really important. I'm using US size 1 2.25 millimeter needles, and I'm hoping that the US size ones will work. I've read in a few projects that the fabric, it's very cabled on the back and very textured on the front, and I hear that it makes not a stretchy sock. So I'm going to try it on a US size 1, but if it's not stretchy, some people have problems getting it like over their heel and stuff. If it's not stretchy enough to where I feel it would get over someone's heel, then I will change needle sizes. But right now, US size 1. We'll see next week when you will actually see some patterning instead of a cuff. And the other project, I am making another pair of socks, but I'm doing it one at a time on double points. I am making the Stalagmite Socks by Cookie A. It's out of the Knit Sock Love ebook. I did the cuff. It's as far as I got. I'm using Miss Babs Yummy, which is 100% merino wool. It's 2-ply. They're going to be awesome socks. I know some people don't use 100% merino for their socks, but I have a couple pairs and I don't have problems with them. So, to each their own, I guess. I'm excited to make this. I'm excited that I have two pretty complicated pairs of socks on the needles, because the two that I cast on are pretty complicated. Because the zipper lexicon, I have that memorized. The Lakeside, for the next 12 pattern repeats, I have that memorized. So there's no thinking. I'm excited to have something to be engaged in. Oh yeah, did I even tell you that this is the colorway Prince? Because that's the colorway. So it's beautiful and I love it. I have a lot of new things to show you. So the first, I'm going to show you something that I got yesterday at knitting. Lorraine, the lady who I had that alpaca wool silk blend last week, well, she gave me that, and this week she gave me productive spindling, which should be interesting. I look forward to reading that, and a spindle. Someone in the Spinners Guild, which I am not a part of, but she is, gave her these, and she has plenty of spindles, and she looked through this and there was not much for her to, there was nothing for her to take away from it. So she gave it to me so I could read it and have it, and that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to reading through that, and yay, another spindle. It was so difficult to not start spinning on this spindle, but I'm resisting. I'm resisting the urge to spin more projects. I already have 3, which, by the way, all of them got worked on a very little bit this week. I don't know, lost some spinning mojo. The 2 blue fibers got the most attention because I want that project to be completed by the end of this month. So I need to finish spinning both of those singles and then ply the 3 singles together. So they got the most love, but it's because I have so much so much knitting that I want to do for the holidays. Nobody knows that they're getting these things, for the most part. Maybe someone does. If Marilee is watching, then she knows she's getting socks. But for the most part, people don't know what they're getting, just that they're getting something. So I could always make easier, simpler things, or just buy them things if it came down to that. I don't know. I feel pressure that I'm putting on myself. Not in a bad way, though. I enjoy it. I enjoy this pressure, this drive to finish things. Other new things. Knit Picks had a huge sale, and bright and early Monday morning, I got up and got yarn. Normally for Christmas, I ask for indie dyed yarn because I like to support small businesses. I like to support local businesses. However, this year, and I feel a little bit of guilt over this. This year, I really wanted yarn to make sweaters, and I wanted specific yarn to make sweaters. I could go to the local yarn shop and get yarn. I know that. But I can't get the Knit Picks yarn that I really, really wanted. So feeling some guilt, not remorse. I love what I got, but I feel some guilt that I didn't go indie like I normally do, or local. I got Knit Picks Swish Worsted in Canopy Tonal. I don't know what this is going to grow up to be. This is just a color that I used in the Fractured Shawl by Josh Ricks. It was the it was a green, this tonal green in sock weight, and a tonal purple, and then a variegated green and purple. I gave that to my sister, that shawl. You might remember. Maybe I loved the colors so much, and I was like, I wish this was a sweater. So now I have a sweater quantity in worsted weight because I'm not ready to go and make a fingering weight sweater. Not yet. That's out of my reach right now. So I'm on the lookout for what sweater to make using that. I got 1,500 yards to be on the safe side. I think that should be enough to make a worsted weight sweater for myself with sleeves and length and pretty much anything I want to make. I don't know, I've only made that one sweater for myself and it was DK weight and short sleeves. So I don't know. I figured that would be plenty. Hopefully. We'll see. The other sweater yarn that I got for myself is Wool of the Andes Tweed. This is the Sequoia Heather colorway. It's a really, really dark green. Really dark green. In the sunlight, it pops of green. I'm thinking you might be seeing this, unless it looks black on your screen, in which case, no. But I just saw it. It was actually lighter on the screen. It was more green than this on the screen when I was buying, but I don't hate the color. It's still really pretty. I wanted a tweed, and I'm going to make the Moody sweater using this. This is being cast on as soon as I finish the Christmas knitting. Yeah, this is going to be my January gift to myself. I'm really excited for it. And I know I said I wanted superwash for the Moody sweater, but I changed my mind when I saw that tweed. Whatever. And I think last week I was telling you that I wanted to make a sweater for Gabriel. But I want to make it in a color that will look good on both of my children. Which is kind of tricky because Gabriel has red blonde hair and blue eyes and my yellowish skin. And Mara has brown hair, kind of yellow-brown eyes, and fair pinkish skin. Vastly different color palettes for both of them. If I was just making for Gabriel, because I love him so much, I probably would have went with orange because that's his favorite color. But that would look not so good on Mara. So I went with this blue. It's Swish DK in Rainforest Heather. And it is blues and greens and purples. I just think it will look really good on both of them. I'm a little heartbroken though. I pulled it out and I was like, Gabriel, you like it? And he was like, no. I was like, what do you mean no? I know you like blues. And he was like, no, I don't like it. Hopefully when it's a sweater he'll like it, and if he doesn't, then it'll just be Mara's. I think he was probably just being 5 at that moment. Next year I foresee sweater knitting happening. Here are the yarns. The blind is closed a little, so yeah, they're all kind of similar. You guys know what I like. Let's not be silly about it. So I tried to pick something that I thought Gabriel would like, but apparently he doesn't. Maybe he will when it's done. I'm not exactly sure what I was saying because I was just on the phone with my boyfriend. Side tangent. He called me because last week I went to the store to pick up a few things and he needed razor heads. And I said, okay, what kind of razor do you have? And so he told me what he thought he had, and I brought the razor heads home and they do not fit the razor. Awesome. And he had cut open the pack and stuff to try them on so we couldn't return them. So now he has a 10-pack of razor heads that he can't use. I went grocery shopping yesterday and he asked me if I had picked up blades for the razor, and I was like, no, because you never told me what kind of razor you had, so I didn't get more blades. So he was at the store and he said, okay, well, I'll just pick them up, and he was down the aisle and he was like, oh, these are $35. I'm not getting these today. I was like, why don't you just pick up a new razor? One that fits the blades that we got. It's probably only $10. It probably comes with 2 blades, so then you'll have 12 blades and we won't have to worry about this for another few months. And he was like, I never even thought of that. You're a genius. I was like, no, why would that not occur to you? That you already have these razor heads at home, so just get a handle that fits the blades that you have at home. And then you have 2 different handles that you can match up with blades, so you can buy whatever is more cost effective the next time you need blades. I don't know. I have 2 different razor handles so that I can buy whichever is more cost effective. Silly. Boys are silly. I'm pretty sure what I was saying or going to say was that I foresee many sweaters next year because I have those 2 sweaters quantities for me. I have 1 sweater quantity for Gabriel. Lorraine, I told you, she has Sable. And last week I was talking to her about wanting to make sweaters for the kids, and she was like, oh, I think I have some yarn. And she actually pulled out yarn and forgot to bring it yesterday. So she is planning on bringing me yarn next week so that I can make another sweater, and then both kids can have sweaters. And my sister and her friend are both planning to have me make them sweaters. So yeah, next year of sweaters maybe. I'm not going to say either way because I set goals at the beginning of this year and only kind of followed them. So we'll see what happens next year. I have a lot to talk about in reading, which is kind of weird because last week I don't think I even talked about reading at all. And when my sister was here, I'm pretty sure there was no talk about reading at all because I finished this book this week and I don't recall talking about it at all. And Amanda didn't talk about it at all. And she actually picked this up from the library while she was here for the weekend, and it's only 250-ish pages or something, and it's fairly large print. So she read it in a day because she reads super fast. I used to read that fast, and then I massively concussed myself, so I don't read that fast anymore. Very tragic for me, but... So it's called Burned Alive, and how would you pronounce this? Suad? It's the story of a woman from West who was burned by her brother-in-law for... It's an honor crime. She fell in love with a guy, and he kind of coerced her into sex. She was kind of willing. It was one of those really weird situations. She was too young to understand and too ignorant to understand because in her village, women were worth less than the sheep and cattle. And it's the story of her life entirely. How her life was before the boy, what happened during, then the burning, and her life since then. It's kind of graphic. It is obviously sensitive. And what I really want to talk about this book is that My sister and I had completely different reactions. She started reading it while we were at the library, and she was vocal about how horrendous she thought things were. Like she would tell me like a little snippet of what happened in the book. And at first I wasn't going to read the book because I was like, no, that's too gruesome. I'm already reading Motherhood in Bondage, which I actually haven't read in a long time. It's still on my desk. It's, I'm going to read it. I'm going to finish reading it. I just haven't picked it up in a while. But then it was sitting on my dresser in my room, and we only go over by that library once a week. So it was sitting there, and finally I was like, fine, I'll read it. It could be interesting from an anthropological standing. So my sister was having these very strong reactions to the story, and I did not. Like, it's horrible. And my sister, my dad's mom, her dad is from Lebanon, and her mom is from Syria, but they met in the US. They had both emigrated, and they met here. So my grandma was born here, and her siblings were born here. So this sort of thing is happening in places where we have roots. And she was just, her reactions were so strong. And of course it's horrible. I think it's horrible. I support the organizations who are trying to help these women who are victims of honor crimes and who are trying to change the laws in these places. But on the other hand, I told you I think it was last week, how I majored in theater and had the dual major in 2 different designs. Well, I didn't have a minor because I didn't need to declare one, but if I had declared one, it would have been anthropology, because those are the courses that I took. Like, all of my, but you have to take so many credits that they don't specify what they need to be, and all of mine were anthropology. So possibly because I have an anthropological background, I'm able to separate myself and immerse myself simultaneously. So yes, what happened to this woman, they're horrible things. But two, I don't know if my lack of real emotion toward this book is because I have that background. So I'm used to, feeling what I feel, but also looking at it in context of a different culture. Or if it's because Amanda had been reacting so much to this book in front of me, and then I read it after her. I don't know. Very, very sad, but it ends well enough. I mean, she lives. She was able to write this book. It's her story. It's true to the best of my knowledge. I recommend it if you can handle that sort of thing. I would never push this on anybody who cannot handle that sort of story, though, because it is horrifying. It's terrifying that this happens, that I am able to sit here and talk to you about whatever I want, basically, and some women can't even look up when they're walking. I'm gonna not talk about this book anymore. So, I went to a different library to pick up an audiobook, which I haven't started listening to, and this was sitting on their new releases for teens. And I was like, okay. I really, really like mythology, especially the Greek Pantheon. Is that what it's called? I don't know. I can't remember. And I almost never read the backs of books before I start reading them. I usually just pick them up, look at the cover, and go. And this cover was enough to make me interested, but not interested enough to necessarily read it. And then I read the inside, and gods are slowly dying. Or maybe not dying, but they're like getting sick. Like, it's interesting, and I'm not very far into it. So the main characters so far are Athena and Hermes, and a girl named Cassandra. It's interesting so far. I'm enjoying it. It's my before bed reading. And when we went to the library when my sister was here, the reason we went was so that I could pick up a knitting book, which is not what I'm going to talk about because I haven't started reading that one yet. But I couldn't remember the call number or the author, so I had to look at all of the knitting books. So of course I came home with a stack of knitting books to look through. And I am reading through Knitting Vintage. And I'm actually reading it because there are pages that have actual information about knitting and fashion. So the history of fashion and how that influenced knitting and the way that knitting became more prevalent in the US. So I'm not very far into it. I am less than halfway. This is where I am. And so far there's only one thing that I'm really interested in making, but I am really interested in reading about the construction and how it's based off of clothing. I don't wear a lot of vintage clothing. I really like vintage styling, and I enjoy when other people dress vintage. It's just not me. It's not what I would be comfortable in. At least not the decades that I've read yet, because the 20s, I am not boxy boy shaped. That wouldn't work for me. The 30s, maybe, but nothing blew me away. Anyway, so this is the string of beads. And it's a pretty simple pattern, but I don't want to make it to wear as beads. I actually really like the pattern as inspiration for a garland for my tree. So I don't know when I'll be making something like that. It's beads on a cord. That might happen this year. It might be something that I just work on through the year next year and have it for 2014 for the tree. It's still boiling around in my brain. I don't know yet. I don't have a list for you this week. What I have is something that I made for Gabriel when I was pregnant with him. This is the Gabriel Bunny. I call Gabriel my bunny all the time. Mara's the kitten and Gabriel's the bunny. I don't know why they're animals, but the nicknames kind of fit them because Gabriel goes at like a million miles an hour and is always literally bouncing around, and Mara likes to play with string. I made this bunny for him, and every part is a different fabric, and most of them are different textures. So this nose is this shiny synthetic fabric that is left over from my favorite t-shirt in middle school. I used to wear this shirt once a week at least. So that is soft and satiny. This is lightly textured. See, no, you can't. Okay, so the fabric definitely has a nap to it. This is the same fabric that I used in the purse that got signed by my favorite band when I was in high school, or right after I graduated from high school. I don't know where this black and white flower fabric came from, but I read that black and white, like high contrast, it's really good for babies because they need really high contrast when developing, when they're, a month old or whatever. And if the bunny was just sitting there like this, that would be what the baby would be able to pick out really well. So that's why I picked that out. This stomach is textured. I think you can see like right along this edge up here how it has bumps. So I made that for the tummy. The paws are corduroy and so is the tail. And these two, the arms and legs, are just some fabric that I got from a friend in college. It's just home decor fabric that I figured would last for a while. It was all sewn by hand because I didn't have a sewing machine. This is old school crafting. This is what I did before I learned how to knit. I did a lot of sewing. And before that I did a lot of crocheting. I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string. Have a good week. Bye.